On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, new leaks investigated,
There's something in the thing they've shared that gives me a crumb of truth to this.
potential features for GTA Online 2.0,
Some of these things would definitely really change the feeling of GTA Online.
and could the release date be revealed in just a few weeks? It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 56 of GTA 6 o'clock, the award-winning show that comes to you every week live and direct from inside of GTA Online. This week, we are back in the GTA 6 o'clock studio because, drum roll, the team is back together.
Yeah.
Yes. DD and JJ, that's me, are here to put the meat on the horse and extrapolate the heck out of all the recent GTA 6 news, rumours and developments. Hello, Dan. Welcome back.
Hello there. Hello. Glad to be back. Not been very well over Christmas. Still a little bit, well, this is appropriate, a bit hoarse.
Nice.
But if I launch into a coughing fit, I apologise, but I should be okay.
Yes. So, welcome back. You would have heard last week's show, of course, that we are now an award-winning podcast.
Are we?
Yes. We won a Best Podcast in the Rockstar Community Awards. So congratulations to us.
Oh, did we really?
Yeah. I did a whole acceptance speech last week, which you definitely heard.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that one, that acceptance speech.
Yeah, that one.
That's really nice. Like, is that a real thing that people voted for?
Yes. It's
Are we saying
a
that?
community thing that was set up by our friend Cyberboy, I think. And it was invited for people to vote on what they thought was a load of different categories. So it was 20 or so, I think. And we won Best Podcast.
Great. We weren't the only nominee or anything, were we?
Hey,
Or-
look, we won Best Podcast, Dan. Let's leave it at that.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the award I've not heard of. I'm sure this is what it's like being, let's say, a Harrison Ford, for example, and he wins an award from the Ugandan Film Association. He's probably like, well, thank you, these people, for my award. This means a lot to me. So,
Yeah.
no, genuinely, thank you. I'm surprised and delighted.
Also, in last week's news, we did briefly talk about, well, for some time, the whole fury around the number 27 and the rumours and speculation that Trailer 2 could have happened over the Christmas period. I did cover it a lot last week, but now you're here. We might as well briefly just say you followed it and definitely really enjoyed it.
I spent the festive break trying not to work, aggressively trying not to work or think about work. But ambiently, I did see a lot of hubbub about the number 27 and some, again, super plausible, but ultimately foolish assemblage pieces of clues and the reasons it was 27. And it just never rang true. And I think the reason chiefly, and this is what we discussed off air, and I saw you talking about this on our X account, was that nobody's working. Nobody's working.
No, well, definitely no one in the UK, which is...
Yeah,
you know.
but even then, really, it's just a down period. Globally, it's a down period. And I know some people would be working on and off and sporadically.
Mhm.
Nobody does things during this time period. Nobody, let alone GTA 6. Now, I know, and again, this is something we discussed off air, you can just schedule a post and leave it. Of course, those things can happen. I agree. Of course, they can happen. What if they go wrong? Who mops it up then? People are off. If you're saying to your staff, you deserve 2 weeks off, it's been really stressful, or a week off, or whatever it is, right? It's been really stressful. So what we're going to do is, to minimize stress during that time, is make our most major announcement of 12 months. It'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I don't
chance.
think anyone listening to this show was probably expecting something to come out on the 27th. Because as you say, like there were so many factors going in behind the scenes. Like, sure, the post might be scheduled, but the amount of maintenance and analytics teams that will have to be all over that trailer and the reporting, it's like you're not just putting a trailer live and then going, oh, let's see how it does in a week's time. Like people will be analyzing that, making sure it's getting reported where it should be being reported, tracking all of the numbers, the views, like all of that stuff needs doing by real people. And to ask those people to do that in that week between Christmas and New Year felt very unlikely, let's say.
Oh, just so unlikely.
And was, because nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, in our own world, like we make digital game showcases in our other life. I could not even, I mean, it'd be hilarious and sort of terrifying. I can't imagine going, well, it's finished now. Let's all take Christmas off and we'll just make it live while none of us are looking. Like, that's just not a thing you can do.
No.
It just isn't. But what I will say is, I liked, as a piece of craftsmanship, I liked some of the cheat sheets people made of why it was the number 27. I thought they were elegantly made, but essentially fan fiction.
Yes. Well, let's get on to discussing the first thing of the year in this year, the year of GTA 6 currently. And as I mentioned last week, I think this will be the year of GTA 6, regardless of if it comes out 2025 or 2026. We're definitely going to see more of the game this year at some point, no matter, even if it gets delayed to next year. We'll see something this year. That is a guarantee for me to you listeners.
I 100% agree with you. I'm just laughing because part of me would love the idea that in a year's time we're going, oh, trailer 2, eh? Oh my God, off on my coughing fit. Here it comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2026. Oh, we're really waiting for that second trailer to come.
Just be amazing.
No, it won't happen. We will get it by then. Do not worry, he says with lots of confidence. So the thing to talk about is our favorite topic, the Take-Two earnings call. Now, this is set for Thursday, February the 6th. Why is this important? I hear you ask. Well, we are going to get an update on probably the financials, and as we've previously seen, we'll be able to see if any of that money is moving out of one period into another period, which might give you a suggestion as to the state of development on GTA 6. But also, if the game is coming out in 2025, this earnings call has been the one that Rockstar's previously used to announce the date of the game, not specifically in the earnings call, but like in a post before that call happens. So we had a post on January the 31st, 2013, which was the announcement that GTA 5 was coming on the 17th of September 2013, same year. And then we had a post regarding Red Dead Redemption 2, which announced that that was coming October the 26th, 2018. And that was from a post on February the 1st. Both posts occurring before that quarterly earnings call, probably to set the scene and to say, okay, this is where we're at. So the speculation would be if something was going to happen this year, we might expect one of those posts at the end of January / early February, possibly confirming a release date aside from fall 2025, or as is what is on, trailer 1, just 2025, accelerated into an actual date. Do you believe that this is in any way likely?
I think it's deeply plausible, and that there is a historical pattern for them having the confidence to commit what seems to be in the region of 8 months out ish, which makes sense. And at that stage, the game should be. There's obviously a lot of work to do behind the scenes, but they must know that they know the skittles they need to knock down to get the game where it needs to get to. And yeah, I think, there's a plausibility to this. Does it mean it definitely happened? Of course not, right? Everything about GTA is caveated. Yeah. But I think this is I would say a positive precedent, and at worst a historical quirk. But yeah, if they follow previous patterns, which actually they did until they didn't last year with the trailers.
And the Christmas screenshots that we didn't get.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd probably say more, if nothing happens at all in terms of firming up the date by this date, then I'll be a bit more worried.
Mm.
I would think whether it's done officially or with the thing is of the earnings calls now are semi-officially like public broadcasts because people like us monitor them so carefully, and because they are financially sensitive and broadcaster shareholders. Of course, anything they say is as effective as a press release, really. So, yeah, I let's see. Let's keep all eyes on that call. But if it is going to be this year as well, it is a good date to look at, because I think when you go to the next earnings call, which then takes us into April or something, that almost feels a bit late to be locking things in. So, unless it's slipping.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if everything, if no news happens and the call proceeds as the numbers are the same, everything is happening, but we don't hear anything else regarding it, the further and further you get into this year, the more likely you're going to have to go.
It casts a cloud over, even if, as you say, even if they straight bat it like they have and say we're confident in this and this and the numbers are this, if they don't commit to the date, it does cast a shadow, I think.
Well, on a similar vibe, over, I think just before Christmas, there was a post from a senior talent acquisition specialist at Rockstar Games. This is, I'm going to try and pronounce your name properly, Giorgio Jakowski. I'm going for that.
Jankowski.
There we go. Yes, senior talent acquisition, which is, I would imagine, responsible for all things hiring over at Rockstar Games. Put a post up on LinkedIn which says, with 2025 kicking off and shaping up to be one of the most exciting years ahead here at Rockstar, it couldn't be a better time to have a look at our open positions and consider applying. And then there's a link to the careers page. All roles are full-time on-site, relocation support locally can be discussed if required, etc., etc. But I guess the important factor here is their senior talent acquisition specialist is saying this is going to be one of the most exciting years ahead for Rockstar. And you would read into that, and everyone's favorite word who's listening to the show, you would extrapolate that into what would be more exciting than launching one of the biggest games ever. So, there's some link there to suggest those people have not been told yet. Maybe rein it back a bit on the excitement levels.
Yeah, if there was genuine concern, anyone who's seen as communicating externally at Rockstar might be told, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do a talent round using GTA artwork, and which literally, and the artwork used on LinkedIn has the Grand Theft Auto logo. It's got the VI and it says coming 2025, and it's the Lucia, Jason image. That's a symbol of confidence. The fact they say it's a big year for Rockstar, it says exciting, one of the most exciting years ahead, is a symbol of confidence. Now, of course, it could be confident until something changes.
Yes.
So they're pretending business as usual. But yeah, I think this is quite positive. And I went through, not at a molecular level, but I scanned through all the roles in actually what is a surprisingly large organization. We think of Rockstar as Rockstar North. They're also Rockstar Dundee, Rockstar New England, Rockstar New York, Rockstar India, Rockstar San Diego, Rockstar Toronto, Rockstar London. They've got a lot of locations.
Yeah.
Rockstar Leeds.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and actually the dispersion of roles is pretty spread as well. Like, I think, once upon a time, London and New York used to be sort of marketing and PR and data style outlets, but I think now London is a different kind of hub. There's more dev or art done there. North is still like the home of Rockstar North, but there's no role here where you go, haha, like they're not hiring for a GTA 6 launch director or anything like that. Obviously.
Not explicitly.
No. But there's lots and lots of roles, and I think, to be honest with them, most of them look like natural renewal where people are in roles and they left. There's things like senior technical artist interiors, technical writer, associate principal technical artist. There's lots of roles in security, network engineers. They just feel like roles that there's probably lots of these functions and they're getting rolled in, rolled out. There was nothing where I felt specifically it was something has changed or the timing has changed. Or but that you could probably dig into every single CV and job spec and do a more thorough job. But there's like 50 to 100-ish roles which look like natural renewal to me in a company that's got thousands of employees.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you said, the most important thing for us here is that it's not just that one LinkedIn post. There are other talent acquisition specialists at Rockstar who are posting across LinkedIn using the same language and definitely the same banner that still has the artwork and coming 2025. So it wasn't just like one person going, oh, I just used that thing from 6 months ago you told me was fine to use.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a collective, this is still the branding we are putting on all our posts. So, read into that what you will. So, as I say, depending on, whichever camp you're in, if you're in it's still coming in 2025, or I think it's going to slip into 2026, I think we will know, as we said, by that investor call on February the 6th. Hopefully one way or the other, or we'll get more of an insight that way, which is, amazingly, just 3 weeks away. So if you're listening to this show right now on the Wednesday, there's only 3 more shows until it'll be the show after that. So there'll be 4 shows. And then we'll be talking about all of those things. So if you haven't already, please hit subscribe and keep up to date with all of our future episodes. All right, then, Dan, let's move on to some of the GTA Online features, historical GTA Online features that might appear in whatever the new version of GTA Online is going to be when GTA 6 comes out. There was a post on Christmas Day. So as you were talking about things that might leak, or come out over the Christmas period, this did. And it does seem to be that Christmas Day is becoming somewhat of a theme for Rockstar leaks in recent memories. There's been quite a few things over Christmas that have come out. But this one specifically is around some design documents for a version of GTA Online that was being discussed way back, I think, in 2001. Now, some of these documents have been like half confirmed by Obi Vermenji, who was the technical director at Rockstar North from 1995 to 2009. He worked on GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 4. Lots of pedigree there. And he says about these documents, the GTA 3 design doc has been doing the rounds for a while. Here's a video about it, and he links to a video from GTA series videos. We'll put that link in the description. And he says, this is legit. I recognize it. There were 2 parts to GTA 3 Online that happened. I wrote the basic implementation of a bare bones deathmatch. I worked on it for 4 weeks or so. Players could get points by killing each other. Players could steal cars, etc. It was obvious it needed a lot more work, and we abandoned it. Then he says, I'm a bit hazy on the other part. Barking Dog were asked to explore the design of what GTA Online could look like. 3 of them visited us in Edinburgh. I remember being in a few meetings with them. They probably produced a design doc, but I can't remember seeing it at the time. None of this was actually greenlit or actually worked on. Barking Dog became Rockstar Vancouver and eventually made Bully. He then went on to add in a post below that one that the GTA 3 design document was mainly written and maintained by Leslie Benzies. So what is actually in these documents, and how might these past ideas make their way into GTA 6 or GTA Online? Well, it looked like, even all the way back then, that Rockstar were wanting to focus on roleplay for GTA Online in this early iteration. And I guess given the fact that they now own 5M, like the role-playing arm of GTA Online as it is now, it's very role-playing focused. Could we see some of these features enter the next version of GTA Online? The things in this document that are detailed, and there's quite a lot of things in here, but things that they were talking about that back then that now exist are things like detailed interiors, locations such as liquor stores, banks, mansions, and jewelry stores were planned. All of those things, I think, have made their way into GTA games as a base game and the online element. Emotes and animations, actions like smoking, head bopping, laughing, and frowning were part of the game. Well, you can adapt that into saying, yeah, we can do some of those things in GTA Online now. Maybe not all of them, but that has been implemented. Property ownership. Players could buy apartments and garages. Big tick. Definitely can do that in the current version. The things that it mentions that aren't currently in GTA Online are there are plans for playable factions. So you could, as a player, join groups like the Yakuza, the police, the mob, the mafia, and then that would open up different opportunities for you. There was an inventory system, where players could trade items with each other within the world. There's a skill system where you could develop extra skills like hacking, chemistry, charisma, intelligence, and strength. All of this is very role-play led, I would say, and you could see how it would translate into a new version of an online multiplayer game. The next two things are like really interesting, and I don't know how they would work in a modern game, but there was a court system where players could face trial with the option to plead guilty or not guilty and potentially win based on your like legal skills, or I guess your like legal stats.
Yeah.
And then finally, a hospital system where injured criminals, which I guess means you, if you had done a crime, you become a criminal, could then be taken to hospital by ambulance, but would be sent to jail afterwards with the option to escape and find help outside of the city. So some of these things would definitely really change the feeling of GTA Online if they were to be implemented. Obviously, these are 20-odd years ago ideas, and it might have been, this would be amazing, but over time they've looked at them and gone, actually, they were good ideas back then. Obviously, nothing got worked on at the time then. Do we really want to revisit them for GTA Online 2.0 or whatever we're going to call it? But is there anything in here that really stands out to you as things that we could see appearing in the next version of GTA Online?
I guess the main thing is what you've said. These are really old ideas. And in fact, they're of GTA 3 era. And you have to think as well, like, not only are these ideas super ambitious, GTA 3 itself was really ambitious and risky. And there was no guarantee at that stage that GTA was going to become what it did. GTA had only existed publicly as a 2D game until GTA 3. GTA 3 was met with almost a degree of disbelief by reviewers. I've probably told this, I won't tell the story again, but I've told it on the podcast previously about being one of the first people to get code and to play it. And no one could believe, everyone thought it was a trick. People thought that game was going to run for an hour and blow up. It was too good to be like it was. I think everyone thought it was like a ruse because it didn't seem possible that Rockstar could release a game that good or deep or ambitious. Now, and for this to sit alongside, ideas that we're still yet to see in online feels really surprising. So I don't know what the brief was for the people who came up with this, whether it was a real blue skies. What could this be XXX years down the line? I don't know. The ideas to an extent, I guess, are that partly blue sky, partly driven by a world that was probably RPGs are still huge. Maybe the only thing people knew about online then was largely like RPG based, build your own universe, and there's that sense of it. This idea of role playing, stat accrual. There's almost a Dungeons and Dragons style element to this, and the idea of operating systems like a court system. Really, how deep was that going to be back in 2001?
Yeah, I mean, back in 2001, there were hardly any at this level, like multiplayer games, even like online, like especially not on, I guess we're talking consoles here. So like none of this existed. So like, you would imagine that this would have been a long-term plan as like, maybe it starts small and then eventually grows into some of these things. But I guess that's, GTA Online as it is now is over 10 years old. So there's definitely a way that I could see some of these things coming in to the game, especially as we mentioned with the role-playing department, and 5M and the acquisition there. Like it's going to play a part in some way, and in what way we don't know yet. But I could see elements of GTA Online becoming do you want to just be the judge? And you can just go into the world and people will come and discuss cases with you, and your role in the world is just decide whether these people are going to jail or you're going to let them out.
This is really interesting because that stuff's truthfully just ultra hardcore, and it's only going to appeal to certain people. To be someone who wants to play GTA Online only as a judge, a pedestrian, a bin man, whatever it is, right? That's sort of crazy because most people, the reason GTA has been successful is because it's a dip in, dip out playground full of explosions and cars doing loop the loops and crap to unlock and all of that sort of thing. This is not that. So I do wonder when it comes to the 5M integration. I think what they'll do is put a better front door on it and explain it better, but leave it as here's
An
another way
extra
to
bit.
play this game, and we're gonna maybe bake a few of the elements into the core GTA Online, but only in the most. We're introducing you to the concepts. If you want to carry on with them, that's up to you. Because it's just too hardcore to bake into the core systems. I can't see it. I don't know what you think, but I can't see it. But I do think they will try to make it more accessible for those who want it and to do a better job of going, you may want this. It's the same challenge to an extent Fortnite has had, where it's tried to introduce all these different spin-offs and game modes, but it can't really get people over the line. And I think they've done events where they've gone, you should really consider the Lego mode. You should really play the Guitar Hero game. You should do this. People just don't want it broadly.
Yeah. We did discuss previously the GTA esque mode in Fortnite, like Lego Brick Life, I think it's called, which is a very sort of Miami looking beachfront where you can go around and do jobs and stuff. I played a little bit of that over Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
It's not very good.
Oh.
Like, it's fine, but it's like I think from what I could tell, there's 3 people you can get jobs from. Yeah. And they live about a block away from each other. Yeah. So you just sort of drive up.
One Lego block.
One tiny Lego block away from each other. But it's just things like you get there and they're like, oh, you want to work at the bank? Go use the ATM machine, which is literally next to you. I can see it, how it would expand into a bigger thing. But at the moment, it's very basic and not the kind of thing that's going to make me go, hey, guys, we should not play Battle Royale tonight. We should jump in and you should help me build my Lego house that I can put furniture in and do all of that stuff. That side of it is a bit more interesting and I think could be the kind of thing we might see in GTA Online is like customizable apartments where you can place your own furniture in the world or like put different pictures on the wall and that kind of thing. Because the things you get in online right now are, prefab. You just select what you want and it's done and you can't move anything. You can see the next iteration of that being actually you can do a bit of interior design if you like, put a different rug down, change the bed, change all of, the position of where things live in the apartment. Maybe that kind of thing can come into it. But that's about the only insight I got from Lego Brick Life. So I'm not sure that's going to take off in the way that maybe they hoped. Right, now let's move on to something that I actually don't believe, but we're going to mention it for the sake of completeness while we're talking about all of these leaks and new documents and things that have come to light. This is a Reddit post, which was posted by a burner account, and someone had just said, I'm obviously making a new account because I don't want it to be traced back to me, from someone who claimed that they have seen GTA 6 gameplay from a 2024 build, so last year. They said, I don't work for Rockstar directly, but I was there with some other work unrelated to game development. I've pulled out some key points of some of the things that they talked about from having, in quotes, seen the game. I should say that there is no evidence that any of this is real. And I would argue that it's something that me and you, Dan, could come up with if we had the time.
Yeah.
Like, the statements here are believable to an extent, but I just can't see like the surrounding info about like how they saw it and how much they saw it. That's the bit I'm having trouble with. As I say, like, they're believable to the extent that I'm sure over the last 50 weeks or so, you and I have talked about some of these things and said, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And if we just wrote it in a more confident way and went, this is going to happen, you could put that, into I've seen the game. Anyway, some of the things they talked about were vehicle physics being way more realistic, as are the crash physics. There's mention of headlights falling off and the cars feeling different if you add extra weight to them, like armor or the passengers in the back or even bodies in the trunk. I think I'll go through these and then we'll talk about which ones we feel are more believable than others. They said the weapon inventory is multiple. There's one weapon wheel for when you're on foot. There's another for your car or your truck inventory. And this is where things start to get confusing, because they've said that, but then later in a reply to some other questions, they said, well, I didn't see the full HUD. It was turned off or not showing up, and I didn't really think about the wanted level. Now, I would suggest that if you're looking at a GTA game, not thinking about the wanted level is quite significant, because that's, unless you're just walking around doing nothing, which maybe is what was happening. One of the things you want to know about is, well, how does the wanted level work this time around? How many stars can you get, etc., etc. Anyway, I digress. They said buildings will be enterable to the extent of about 40%, and then you mentioned that they were destructible to an extent. There's another questionable bit here where they say that the game was truly breathtaking, especially the stormy and hurricane type of weather, which I asked to see. It feels real and it looks like it's actually happening. Wind moves the poles and the road signs, etc. NPCs lose their balance. But then in a follow-up to a question, they say, I didn't see the tornadoes, and I doubt there will be some big destruction-type tornadoes. There's just too much on a scale of this game. So those things seem to conflict each other, of going, yeah, I asked to see the weather effects and the tornadoes, and then going, well, I didn't actually see the tornadoes. That calls this into question a bit for me. And then construction workers will be working in the city, shutting down lanes, etc. And then cleanup crews will come to respond to crashes. They will tow cars away, clean up debris, fix broken poles, etc. If you escape the scene and return, you can see them working, and then that damage is fixed over time. As I said at the top, I like all of these features. There is no mention of refueling, which further calls this into question if they definitely haven't seen it, Dan, I will say.
Oh, good grief, I'm a joke.
We can tell when I've said something good, because there's a little a coughing fit occurs.
Yeah.
But like all of this info, I think, is the kind of info you'd get from like a full preview of, going to see the game and seeing sections of it, not from a random however many minutes this person claims to have seen the game by half looking at a screen. They did go on to say, like, this is stuff that I got from seeing bits and then asking questions. And I would say no one in that studio is talking to you, especially not in the studio. If you're like, I've been to many preview trips at studios where you've shown a very specific section of a game, no matter which game it is. And sometimes you get to go around the studio and talk to some of the designers and developers. If that happens, most of them are warned in advance and all have to either turn their screens off or pull up something that isn't going to like give you any hints to anything else. And then any questions you ask them is always, most of the time, batted away with well, we can't talk about that right now, but there'll be an interview later, then someone else might be able to expand on it. Like, there's no sort of artist or anyone who's just going to go, oh, actually, I've got 10 minutes. What do you want to know? And we'll sit down and talk to you. And I think especially at a company like Rockstar and on GTA 6, that's the kind of bit that this feels like pie in the sky, hopeful thinking rather than a realistic account for me.
Yeah, I'm of course inclined to agree at a place that's
you don't have to agree, Dan.
Pride security above anything else. But I will say, I guess if I'm trying to construct a positive case for this, let's say this person is, say, not employed in game dev, they're just working in the building. Let's say they're a building contractor or an electrician or a plumber or something, right? And then they're in and out of the office in a similar location, let's say for months. And human nature, I think, is to, once you've understood something or you know what the disruption is, you almost see it as invisible. So people are going about their work whilst Joe the plumber, or whatever he is, goes about his business. And I think it's weirdly also human nature. As a one-off thing, like if you or I go to a game studio, they're like, games journalist James and Dan are coming, on your guard. Ultra vigilance, they're here to ruin what we've got. But
Not true, I will say.
no. But for example,
Yes. No, I get
and,
it.
and as a one-off hypervigilance event, it makes sense. But I think people don't like to operate in a consistent state of hypervigilance, so it's natural to relax. So there is a possibility. If I was arguing the case for it, I would say there's a possibility people let their guard down because they go, "It's just Baz. He's a good bloke," and then people make crass assumptions. If people are watching, for example, I promise there's a point to this, like the UK show The Traitors at the moment, which is an exercise in human dynamics and who's betraying other people, and the way people form decisions is very social and group dynamic led, and people are stupid. We're stupid. We don't really follow evidence. We follow hunches. We follow stories. We follow narratives. We follow group dynamics. We don't really follow evidence. And I think it's quite possible people could convince themselves that Baz the plumber, wherever he is, for reasons of maybe he doesn't seem that switched on or that interested, for example, might be you almost write him off like he's not there. And I think we've probably all done that with different situations. I mean, I've had builders in my house a year or so ago, and you almost forget they're there, and you say things in front of them, like almost like they're non-people. That's weird. That was if I was trying to construct a case for how this could happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's plausible. And then maybe there's a friendship thing where someone wants to show off. They've spent ages polishing a car, and they're like, "Do you want to have a look at it? Yeah, it's good, isn't it?" Not realizing that person's actually much more interested in their letting on. I don't know. And like in terms of the actual things that are said, like you said, I want to believe all of them. They're very plausible, and I actually think a lot of them will, perhaps by accident, turn out to be true because Rockstar's trajectory, GTA's trajectory, is about chasing realism and detail. They've said that. Like the little teasers we've had from people who do know something are talking about the levels of realism and depth. So, unique vehicle physics, enhanced weather effects. We know enhanced weather effects because truthfully, there was a little bit of that in the leaks. So, and we speculated on the show about could the weather really go there? Now, I guess there's a difference between, to pick up on your point about, there's a difference between storms and hurricanes and a tornado. Whereas tornado, I'm thinking like a twister or something that rips the city up versus it's really gusty and poles are bending. Like I've fully jokingly said, like Godzilla style levels of destruction are probably too big an ask. But I do, and we've spoke about this, the idea of a dynamic world that builds and changes, that feels like an ambition. That feels true. Does it make any of this true? No idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, I agree. As I say, I think a lot of this stuff is fully believable. Like if someone, if there was evidence to back this up in some way, you'd go, yeah, all right, absolutely. It's just right now it's very difficult to pin this down into anything. But yeah, I totally agree. All of these things are, all of it. If someone told me this is what was going to be in the game, like all of those things are really exciting.
Yeah.
And would really, really add to all of the realism and the life in the city and everything. So as you say, let's see. I think some of them will end up being true, but whether that was because someone actually did see it or they've just poured over the trailer for the last 50 odd weeks and, taken all the speculation and looked at all of the leaks and gone, well, what realistically could happen here and just come up with some pretty plausible things. We will see. Right, on the related leaks note, there is one more thing to cover. Now, we get sent tips all the time. We're on social at GTAVOclock on X. You can email us gtavio'clock@gmail.com if you have any. But for some reason, this one stood out to me. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details here. And if you had trouble with the provenance of the last thing we talked about, well, you're really going to enjoy this one. I've also redacted quite a lot of this because I don't think we need all of the details. So we got sent a message saying, there's no reason to believe me, but I have friends who have seen some of Rockstar's Slack conversations. They told me the following information at a gathering. Release date initially still on track for fall 2025. Trailer 2 may arrive sometime in the spring, March to May time. Screenshots will be after the Trailer 2 release. And then the next points are maybe the exciting ones. There will be map expansions in terms of like added areas, and deals are already in place for musical artists to release new albums through GTA 6, like Dr. Dre did, but with more artists coming on board. Now, the first few things there, I think, as we previously discussed, reasonably plausible. And there was more to this email about where those things came from and stuff. So, unfortunately, you're just going to have to say, well, let's just go with it and see where we get to with it. Trailer 2 coming in spring, I think, as we've previously discussed, that feels pretty plausible if the game is coming out fall 2025. And I think the thing that's interesting here is map expansions, which we've previously covered, would be a thing that we think might happen for GTA Online 2.0, or in fact GTA 6 as a base game, like whether that is returning to previous cities in the series or adding extra ones onto this one, who knows. And then the deals for musical artists I can absolutely see happening, I think, where it becomes a hub to like an entertainment hub where you release new things like they mentioned, like Dr. Dre did, but with other people using it as, we've talked about Fortnite before in previous shows and on this episode, but they are, they have musical concerts in the game where everyone logs on and watches 2 or 3 tracks from a upcoming or popular artist that then makes its way into the game and is then on the radio stations in the cars. I can totally see that happening in a GTA world as well, and maybe they can expand it to other things like trailer launches and that kind of thing, and from the entertainment world where you all go to the theater in GTA Online, sit down and watch the new whatever, the new Marvel trailer. Those two things sound like the most exciting bits for me. And, as with the previous thing we discussed, if we're talking about things that get us excited, that might happen and feel plausible, those would be my 2 from this one.
I've not got much to add to those things because I agree. I don't want to... We talked about the idea of sourcing and provenance, and this was someone who'd reached out to us. I don't want to say too much specifically, right?
Yes.
Someone who reached out to us and had said something about the location of where they were based, and I did look and then went, this must be nonsense because Rockstar don't have a location there. But Take-Two do.
Yeah.
Close by. And there's something in the thing they've shared that gives me a crumb of truth to this.
Yes, which is, I think I did the same thing, which is why I thought, hey, if we're talking about things that people have sent us and leaks, let's add this one in.
And that's such a difficult... It sounds like a load of nonsense. I appreciate that.
It's just very much trust me, bro.
You don't want to throw anyone under the bus or have people in a certain location hauled over the coals for giving away something. But I actually... My Spider-Man radar has a mild tingle for this is actually plausible. I work in the games industry. Like, I've just been at children's birthday parties, for example, and met a guy who used to create, I work in games. Oh, so does my brother. He created Power Wash Simulator. I'm like, what? So, like, these weird things do happen.
Yeah.
I think especially when you live around locations where there are offices of big firms, I think this can happen. And I think people's, like I said earlier about Joe the plumber, your guard's down. And I think you think somewhere in another industry, it's quite nice to go, oh, yeah, this. People like to big themselves up. So there's an element, there's a bit of truthiness in this, I think. And also because everything there is so plausible.
Yes.
And even the language of release date internally is still on track for fall 2025. That's what we're saying. Let's see, let's see if it says trailer 2, spring 2025. Later than we thought, but it's plausible.
Hey, I'll take a March rather than a May, please.
It's plausible, especially if they do, like say, commit to a date, Feb.
Yeah.
Trailer coming. It's all plausible, and I totally buy into, map expansions because I think the idea of this becoming GTA Online becomes GTA Universe, World, whatever, or GTA Americas. is also plausible and has some precedent because this Project America's files in some of the leaks. So they just feel like this began in that place. So I believe all of that. I believe the music stuff because, of course, that's business.
Yeah, all of these things, as we say, very believable. And it's just one of those things that we'll have to see. I think, as we said, the more, hopefully this year, the more we see of the game and the more we get to these milestones and can see if any of these things are happening at the times people have said that they have meant to happen, or some of the features get revealed and we're like, oh, yeah, that's the same as that, the more credible these things get. But until we get that next official drop of info, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing. If you think you've got a legitimate leak or tip off, thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and please keep sending them in. We will try and do our best to get them double checked before we talk about them and everything. But if you've even just, you heard whispers in the wind, if we get enough people hearing the same whispers, then that always helps. So if you want to do that, you can get in touch, as I say, by emailing us gtavoclock@gmail.com or on Twitter, gtavoclock. We will, or of course you can comment below. We will read all of those things and we will return next week for another episode of GTA 6 o'clock.